What's up, man? There's some fool behind me driving without lights. I don't like it. Makes me feel that it's a cop trying to creep. But anyway, hope everybody doing good. So I was thinking today, amidst everything that's going on, and there's always something going on, but it's like the woe of our time. I mean, it's just like shit, economics. People are living paycheck to paycheck. People living on credit. People have anxiety about jobs, and people are worried about the future. And rightfully so. Things are kind of volatile, unpredictable, unstable. You just never know what's gonna happen. But I think things are always like this. I think we're just so used to comfort that when things get a little shaky, we're not gritty enough to really dig down and figure it out. There's just certain survival instincts that we all have that have been conditioned out of us just for all this comfort. And the jobs we have, they're not secure. They can fire us at what do they say? At will termination or whatever they call it. They can fire us just because, for no reason. At a moment's notice, they can just call us in the office and cut us. Even if we're productive, they can do that. So to have all this anxiety about things that are going on now, maybe we just lack perspective. Nevertheless, I think the greatest woe of our time is this chasm between men and women. I mean, it's crazy. And I think that I really believe that outside of Christ, coming into the city, the spiritual city and all that stuff like that. But outside of Christ, there are animals out here. It's a jungle, it's a beast, it's a wilderness. So, that really doesn't make anything, that makes no difference to me. When I see the world getting bad, I just look at the church not doing its job, because the church is supposed to be the primary influence on the world, not having everybody running around, quoting Bible verses and all that stuff that is impractical. But as far as just having a conscience towards what is good and what is right, people walking around with no shame today, and it's not a good thing. But as for the issue between men and women, it's very much a problem. It's a societal, I guess, catastrophe. Catastrophe means breakdown, but that's really what it is. I look at some of these videos, and this pop the balloon stuff, man, it's very, very damning, to say the least. I look at some people, or some of those shows, some of the productions, pop the balloon for seniors, and I look at how they act, and they're acting just like the 20-year-olds. I'm telling you, this is a curse. This is a straight up curse. To be 60 years old and still having these childlike hang-ups, it's actually, when I think about it, it is anti-God. It is an anti-Christ-like. It's like what Paul said. He said, when I was a child, I did childish things, but when I became a man, I put away childish things. And, men or women, people don't want to grow up and be a grown-up, an adult, somebody responsible. It's really unfortunate. It's a disaster. It's a disaster, catastrophe. Using all these words for just calamity is breakdown. And for all the women that think that it's gonna be all good, you're gonna get old. Your looks are gonna run out. You're gonna get old. What are you gonna do? What are you gonna do when you get old and nobody wants to screw you anymore? And for the guys that think that they can just bury their misery in hustle and work, you're gonna get old. Your strength is gonna fail you. So what are you gonna do when that happens? And it's gonna happen quicker than you realize, because if you're heartbroken, and a lot of men are heartbroken. A lot of men are heartbroken. We just wear it. We wear it in a certain way to where it's not really recognizable. But you know, when I say heartbroken, I mean you're hopeless. You've given up hope. And a lot of men have given up hope, and they're gonna break down. You know, it's really unfortunate. And that is the woe of our time. You know, everything, and it is an economical problem. It really is. You know, for women to want to amass power and influence, you know, the way men do, that's you're out of order. But you know, the worst thing you can do as a man is to respond to it, you know, as you know, trying to put it down. You know, a lot of times I just ignore women. I see whoredom on social media all the time. I see women doing skits, you know, playing how they're whores and all that stuff, and it's not funny. And I don't reprove them. I just ignore them. You know, don't feed the trolls. Don't feed the beast. You know, don't feed them. You know, it's really just, it's disgusting, to be honest. When I get on Instagram and I see women like putting their butts out, and you know, I think I've done good, because I've blocked, like, anytime I see content like that, or like gender hating content, I block it. I just block it. I don't care who's doing it. I don't care if it's a joke. I block it. So, you know, right now, most of my feed is just Rottweilers. Don't ask me why, because I'm not even a dog person. But most of my feed is Rottweilers, basketball, and home cooking. And then I have a few people that I follow that are very insightful. You know, I'll keep them in the feed. But you know, anything that's degrading, that degrades people, and you know, foolish pride, I block it. I don't want to see it. I don't want to hear it. Oh, there's a cop. I'm gonna chill out. I need one of those dash holders. And they pulled me over the other day. I'm just chilling now. They don't really bother you in the city. Now, when you get into these small satellite cities, I'm gonna chill anyway. I almost said police on it. When you get into these small satellite cities, that's when they start bothering you. They don't have nothing else to do. They try to levy fines on people so they can get money. And you know, this little Asian chick pulled me over the other day. I was so upset. Little short, probably like 5 foot, and you know, had all this body armor on. I'm like, the only chance you have is a gun, because I doubt that you can do any kung fu. You know, yeah, that was a racist joke. But anyway, so, you know, I block all that nonsense because I don't want to see it. And I think people need to be honest about what they really want. I think that we're just not taught what is what. Words have meaning. You know, people say they want love. So I've been doing just a little small research on words translated into love in the scriptures, and you know, primarily not really just the scriptures, but the Greek, the Coney Greek, and the words. So the main word that most people associate with love of God is agape, and I don't really know why we translated that as love, because, well, I'll tell you like this: it's a love that everybody desires to be provided for, to be thought of, you know, just objectively, you know, to give people, to give occasion to you, you know, just because, and they gain nothing from it, you know. It's sort of like an altruism, you know. And in the old King James, is translated as charity. And then we have the word philos, like philos. We get the word Philadelphia, hydrophilic, all that stuff. To like, it basically just means to have an affinity for something. Oh, I like that. Oh, I like that. I like cake, or I like cookies, or I like ice cream. It's because, so now you see the context, right? You can't do anything for ice cream and cookies. You can't do anything that's gonna benefit it, but you like it. You have an affinity for it. And then there's the word eros. It means, it doesn't, people think it means a sexual love. It just means a desire. I desire it. I really want it. It's like a Jones, like Barry White. He said Jones, a burning desire, an undeniable passion for love, for something, an undeniable passion of love for something or someone. That's what eros is. So it's like, oh, I want this. I really want this. I desire this. So I think that in a healthy relationship, all three is needed. Between a man and a woman. The women, they say they want to be loved, right? You want to be desired. You want to be desired. Then they say, I want to be provided for. So that's the agape stuff. I want some provision, right? Provision. God loves the believer and the unbeliever. To the point where He gives air to everybody. He makes it rain on the just and the unjust. That's the agape. We do for others. Even though they can't do for us, we do for others. We do for our enemies, even though we don't like them, right? And then you have, then you have the whole issue about, oh, I like this. I like this. It's an affinity. That's why we mainly use that word for friends. It's the word that was translated when Jesus said, no greater love than this, that a man give his life for his friends. And the word for friends is philos. It's a form of philos. That a man gives his life for the ones he loves, his friends. It's funny. That's why I always tell people friendship is love. It's love. Like, it really is. Because, when you have friends, even that agape part comes in there. You want to do for them. You desire. It's kind of like you have a desire to do for them. And maybe it's because they're your friend, but nevertheless, you want to provide something for them. You want to provide a value for them. You want to help them obtain some kind of rest. You have their best interests at heart at all time. So, you have that, and I think that's a lot of time what we all want. We all want all three. But I think it's the mistake of the church, because they take Paul's letters out of context. Because they tell men to love your wives, and then they don't. He doesn't give that reproof to women, as if God didn't call women to love their husbands. Like, that's a bunch of crap. Like, the commandment, the first commandment, or the greatest commandment, was to love others as you love yourself. So the things that you want done for you do that for other people. And then just as a commandment for the new covenant, Christ said He said, love others as I've loved you. He's talking to his disciples, his disciplined ones. So that was the commandment. So it's like when we tell people, oh, well, women, God didn't call women to love men. That's a big crock of shit. And it's messed up a whole lot of people. You got this weird, unbalanced concept of relationship. Yeah, I said it in the video. I'll tell you this: women were called to be faithful to their husbands, and I say that especially because when we talk about the faithfulness of the church, The church is the bride of is the wife. You know, she's the wife of Christ. She's supposed to listen to his voice and do as he commands her, as he provides and nourishes her, and you know, and purifies her and all that. You know, but we don't talk about that. We just talk about, oh, the men love your wives, and then respect, and women. It actually says fear. It actually says fear your husbands. You know, it's the word phobos. You know, it's a matter of, you know, we use that word phobos as something, as having an aversion to, but you know, in the context, it's like approach with caution, because you can get hurt. You know, so that's the same kind of caution that we approach God with, because you know, it's like Jesus said, don't fear the ones that can hurt the body, but fear the ones that can destroy the soul in the fire of the valley of Hinnom. Any Bible scholars, you'll know what I'm talking about when I say that. But you know, and you know, just getting back to this, you know, this woe of our society. You know, the men and the women, you know, is really bad. You know, you can even see it in the politics. You know, women are so, men are just checked out. Men have just said, fuck you, like, you know, whatever. But women are so drunk and hungry for power, and both is wrong. Both is wrong. But, you know, it's like, you know, for the women are committing sins of commission, and men are committing sins of omission. You know, the women advocate for a system that makes it hard for a man to raise a family and to have a wife. Women actually advocate for a system to where their interest is taken care of. You know, it's you know, a lot of women can't see it. You know, I try not to be too harsh on women. You know, a lot of women were not taught, and a lot of women just do what they do. But you know, when they're for all these social changes, they're not even thinking about how it would affect the men. They're thinking about how it's going to be for them. And you know, they've bought into a false reality that's just not, you know, gonna bode well for them, as we see now. You know, there's a lot of women that are complaining how lazy men are, how men have no ambition, how men have low standards. Men have always had low standards. I mean, like, to be honest, we would all live outside if it wasn't for women. You know, women is our incentive to actually, you know, conquer the world. You know, I for me, I don't, you know, that incentive is there a little bit, but as I'm older, as I mature, you know, my incentive to conquer is to leave a world better than how I left it. You know, leave a name, an honorable name for those coming behind me, you know, that are gonna bear my name. You know, that's my incentive as, you know, the world as I get older. But you know, but behind all that, you know, the incentive is to have a woman and a family. You know, everything that a man does has that in mind. So, you know, I was telling my homegirl that men, when men rule, you know, we try to keep the interests of the women in mind as well. But, you know, she wasn't having it. You know, she don't understand. So, I don't know. I'm at the gym, and I just, you know, I come here to study. I need to study and work out, because I told myself that, you know, I'm gonna run a mile every day, and I just been slacking. But you know, I just want to come on here just to, you know, say all that. You know, it is an economic problem, because now women are competing in men's spaces, and you know, nobody who's taking up the mantle of the woman at the house. Nobody. So, you know, we just have a bunch of calamity in society, and it's not good. Anyway, man, I'll holler at y'all.